So Cotality. I actually just took a trip to Dallas to meet with, I don't know, there was like 8 people from Keller Williams, and we went to Cotality. Cotality used to be called CoreLogic, and CoreLogic is basically a company that specializes in all things data. So they collect data from 22,000 different sources, and then they build out these algorithms and systems to connect data to leverage it to help you make better decisions. But one of these studies that they recently did was what buyers most value inside of a real estate transaction. So first of all, before I jump in, you guys already saw the first answer, but what do you think the top 3 things that buyers actually think is valuable or what they hold value in a transaction?
Comfort. Yeah. Communication.
Communication?
Trust. Comfort.
Trust, comfort. Cheating. That's okay. Sorry. Guidance. What else? Yeah. Knowledge. Okay. So here are the 3 top reasons or things buyers find valuable. Number 1, comfort. 2, loyalty. Who saw that one coming? That's crazy to me. Loyalty stuck out to me because I'm like, a buyer's like, oh, it's because I was loyal to someone. That's what I found value in. And then convenience. They wanted it to feel easy. So when you're articulating your value, are you articulating comfort, loyalty, or convenience? But here's the thing that I want to go down today is, what does comfort actually mean? What do you think that actually means when someone says, wow, you guys are so good. Trust. They want to trust the person they're working with. So how do we, as professionals, build trust? You know what? You guys don't need to know the answers. I'm going to give them to you. How about that? Okay. So we're going to go over what I call the trust triangle. These are the 3 ways that if you systematically approach your business in these 3 ways, you will be able to establish trust with anyone. In fact, I would even say that if you can do this in your life, you'll be able to establish trust with anyone, business aside. And honestly, it's a great way to operate as a human being. So the first piece of the trust triangle is character. So I'm going to use what I think is the building blocks to character, which is the 4 agreements. And the 4 agreements are, number 1, be impeccable with your word. Always do what you say you're going to do. Speak honestly and always have integrity. Is that fair? Yeah. Okay. Second, don't take anything personally. This one's a big one. A bold law is keep your emotions between the lines. When you show up emotional, your emotions are unchecked, you show anger, you get offended, whatever, and you show up that way to people, unfortunately, the person on the other receiving end of that sees that as a character flaw, whether you want them to or not. And by the way, you do the same thing when someone shows up like that in your world. It's pretty natural. Don't make assumptions. What is the number 1 thing you don't want to do in sales? You do not want to assume. The second you assume, then you start to place what your perception is into what they think. And that's no way to operate in the world or in sales. And then always do your best. Be consistent, even when circumstances vary. For us, that is grit. Consistency over time, regardless of difficulty. And then the second piece of the trust triangle is competence. Competence. So competence, here's how you display competence. Number 1 is confidence, and that's consistent and strong tonality and a feeling that you can handle anything. Like, hey, I got this. I can handle this challenge. You approach people with that same attitude. Does that make sense? You don't have to know everything, But if you're confident that you can figure anything out, that's how you approach a conversation or a person with confidence. Knowing what to say. So this is where scripts and frameworks come in, and also deep market knowledge. So if you're doing what Chase recommended, which is giving market information via video, that's going to cause you to become more of a market expert. If you're a market expert, when someone approaches you with a market question, are you going to be more or less confident? More. And then high confidence equals what? Competence. And then the last one is resourcefulness. This is just understanding what you have within your grasp to do your job. You understand that you have access to tools, data, and mentorship to solve problems quickly. It's okay if someone says, hey, they have a question and they say, what about this? It's okay to say, in all the years I've done this, I've actually never had that happen. Let me get an answer for you. That is okay. That actually is a key indicator for competence. Because if you don't say that and you make shit up, people are going to see you as a incompetent person. Yeah, and that, by the way, that'll bleed over to character, right? All right, the very last one is capacity. This one's the most important in my opinion, because capacity can rear its ugly head in different ways, and I'll explain that in a second. So what does capacity look like? First of all, time management. Understanding how to control your calendar and protect client priorities and your priorities. There's a reason why for new agents, we apply pressure to getting good at calendar calibration early on. It's because typically people don't adopt any form of calendaring until it's painful. And then by that time, it's almost too late. You become a disorganized mess and you can't build a good system for following up or keeping track of your day. Proactive communication. This is Chase's favorite. Over-communicating. By over-communicating with people, you're actually showing them that you have the capacity to serve them. Or communicating back when someone asks you for something. And then systematic reminders. So have some kind of a system for yourself to remind you. So, hey Siri, remind me to do blah, 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 blah at this time. Like if that's your system, that's okay. But you need to have a system so things don't fall through the cracks. The issue is if you don't build any form of a system, you end up being the person that writes something down on the back of a napkin, and then 6 months later you write,
When you're cleaning out your car.
I forgot to do that thing for that person, and then you go look them up and they bought from somebody else. Right? So here is the danger though with overcapacity. If you're overcapacity, how does that show up to anybody in your world that you're dealing with?
You're making mistakes, you're missing things.
Okay? Making mistakes and missing things. What does that look like to the consumer if you're making mistakes and you're missing things?
You're incompetent.
If you're overcapacity, the challenge is it shows up as a character or a competence flaw, not an overcapacity flaw. That is super dangerous. So if you're not actually taking this serious, your capacity, your systems, your processes, how you follow up with people, how you manage your time, chances are the person on the receiving end is like, that person sucks, or that person's stupid. Is that a way to build a business or build trust? No or no? Like that shows up in your personal life, that shows up in your business world, and then flip it. When someone makes mistakes with you, so say they're over capacity, and they have 3, 4, 5 mistakes. Now, I know you guys are going to probably give yourself the benefit of the doubt, but are you sitting there going, oh, they must just be really busy? You're saying, wow, that person sucks. They're not very smart because they keep making all these stupid mistakes. The reality is when you're over capacity, you're just prone to make mistakes. That's just what happens. How organized, Becky, do you have to be?
Extremely organized.
You're like a 10 out of 10. Because if you weren't a 10 out of 10, like you make mistakes, right?
Yes.
But if you weren't a 10 out of 10, how many more mistakes would you make?
A lot.
And then what would you all think?
She has no idea.
Like if,
Care.
She doesn't care. She's singling me out. Becky is a horrible person. She's only doing this to me. Or Becky's just not very good at her job. The challenge is if you don't put your time here, so Becky, for instance, I bet if she was a 7 out of 10, you guys would be asking us to find a new transaction coordinator. Because everything besides, I know everybody in this room has good character. You wouldn't be in this room, right? I know everybody in here is competent. You wouldn't be in this room if you weren't competent. So that means the most important thing for you guys is this, because this is what actually shows up in a negative light to the people in your world as character or competence flaws. So go ahead.
Just something to jump in here, Brent, is that a lot of this overcapacity is self-inflicted. Meaning,
yes,
of course all of it is, but what I mean by that was with minor tweaks, you can free capacity up. So I'll give an example. I'll throw my brother under the bus. He's in landscaping. He's not a real estate agent, but you guys can relate to this quickly.
Do you want to come up here since you're going to tell a long story?
Super fast. So my brother...
Talking to my chest.
Yeah. My brother, my brother owns a landscaping company. And someone's like, hey, I need to get this fencing done or whatever. Let's say they need to get sprinklers installed. And they're like, by when can you do it? And he's thinking best case scenario in his head. Today's Monday. He's like, I could probably do it by Thursday. So best case scenario, he's like, yeah, I can do it by Thursday. But then something pops up and he gets to it by Monday of next week. What do they think? Yeah. Now, by the way, a different landscaper would be like, yeah, we're like 3 weeks out. And he's even talking to Brent. He's like, oh, yeah, when can you get to it? He's like, oh, I can probably get to it by Thursday. And Brent's like, damn, the other people are like a month out. And Blake's like, I can only do it because I squeeze him into this thing. Everything has to go perfectly, and then it doesn't, and then what? So think about you as a real estate agent. You're lead generating, and someone's like, hey, can you give me a value of my home? You're like, sure, I can do that. And they're like, awesome. You're like, I can do it right now. And then you drop everything and you do it right now, and then you don't do what? You don't do what you said you do on the lead gen side. And now Kara's like, you said you made 10 calls today, you only made 6. And you're like, no. Are you seeing how this shows?
Well, there's also follow-up in your lead gen. So if you stop to do that and you put off your follow-up, now there's potential for, I told you I would call you and I didn't.
I would say it's not potential. It's going to happen.
Yeah, totally.
So the self-inflicted stuff is like, how can you think? And you do that by setting expectations, which is like, hey, Brent, is it okay if I get to that to you on Tuesday of next week? And they're like, yeah, no problem. And then you do it by Thursday. Now what do you look like? So, yeah.
Yeah.
This is phenomenal.
Well, think about this. Think of that as a system, like a standard as a system. Like you're going to under-promise everything. Okay? Meaning someone's like, hey, can you get me a CMA, like what he said? And you can for sure, no matter what, get it done by tonight. So you tell them, I'm going to have it to you by tomorrow at 5. Does that work for you? And all you're doing is setting yourself up to over-deliver or over-deliver. Sorry. All the over-unders mess me up. But you're going to set yourself up to over-deliver. What's that going to make you look?
Super confident.
High character, high competence.
He does what he says he's going to do.
This dude does what he says he's going to do, and he's super efficient. He got it to me way faster than he said he was going to. You're going to reaffirm that. And by reaffirming that, that builds trust, which is the number one thing for what? It's the number one thing for buyers. That's all you have to do to win.
And so last thing, because you have it in here, last thing I'll add is assumptions. You assume someone needs something right away. Just ask. And that's the beautiful thing. It's like, Ty, can I get this to you tomorrow at 5? And you're like, no, I actually need it today. Like, okay, I can move something around and get it to you today. Does 5 o'clock work? Now I know. Versus me just trying to, assume that she needs it by today at 5, right? Just ask questions. It will be a game changer.
All right, so what's going through your minds? Ahas. Love this game.
I see people taking pictures. Why are you taking pictures?
Because I am a good person.
I think all of you guys are good people.
Yeah.
But I struggle with the time management big time.
You guys wouldn't be in this room without this.
Yeah.
I feel like as much as I hate the transition too that we're doing right now, because that's just a lot of people to call, I feel like I definitely need it because I have so many leads from like when I first joined Own Boise that like how you said, I'm like, yeah, I'll get back to you. And then I get busy lead genning and I start talking to somebody else that I do that a lot. So I feel like, can I say that I would have more business if I had a better systematic reminder, like, or if like my time management of like the way that I lead gen, that was a little bit just more.
Well, think about lead gen.
Yeah.
You generated those leads years ago.
Yeah.
So what's the point of generating the lead today
Yeah.
if you're not planning on going back?
Yeah. So that's where I'm like.
Well, that's a cycle that's just going to repeat itself. If you generate leads and then they land in some kind of a abyss in your world that you don't follow up with them, even though you said you would or whatever, but you generate a new one today, this one is going to be that one a couple of years from now.
Yeah. The number one thing, if someone has an inconsistent business, they probably lack follow-up. So if you're like, oh man, I had my best month ever 3 months ago and then I have nothing now, I would hone in right on follow-up. What's your follow-up look like? Because that's where the consistency in this business comes from.
Yeah, totally. I mean, and asking good enough questions so you're not assuming. Because if someone says, oh yeah, I'm looking to do something in the next year, and you don't follow up on that, but you just put them as a 1-year nurture, that's why we have 10,000 people in a 1-year nurture. Because if you dug in and you figured it out like we did with Megan, was that last week or the week after or week before? When we dug in with you and it's like, well, actually, I don't want to move. Like I gave you all the reasons why I would want to move, but actually I don't want to. Yeah. Like you're not on a 1 year, you're on a 4 year or a 5 year or however many years. And so when you assume that what they're telling you is the truth without backing it up with questions and digging deeper, that's how we end up in the situation where we have 10,000 people to follow up with. And then that becomes compounding to how you feel every day. And then you just become less and less effective and you don't actually convert at the rate you should. So, all right, what else? Yes.
I think it's a safe assumption to think that overcapacity is probably one of the most difficult for the masses, but also the most important.
Yeah, so she said overcapacity is probably one of the most difficult for people, but the most important. It's pretty easy to be a good person. Like, there are shitty people out there, but I think that's very much by choice. It's very easy to be a good person. I think it's a little less difficult or less easy to be competent, but doesn't take a lot to be competent, to know what you're talking about and be confident. But this part, because
This is the people pleaser and all the realtors.
it's the people pleaser, it's also it's almost like the fear of slowing down to speed up. Like people fear that if they slow down, that they're actually going to hurt their business. But the slowing down is, how do I build a process that protects me in the future?
Well,
So.
and we judge ourselves based on our action, we judge others based on their actions, but we judge ourselves based on our intentions. It's because we understand I'm a good person, I'm competent, I was just busy.
Almost lazy.
That's your intention. Your intention was to do what you said you did, and you just got busy. Like, you mean well. Someone else does that to you, you're like, you see how that shows up?
Yeah.
Instantly, you're like, oh my God, they are full of it. Or they're so
Stupid.
whatever. Yeah, stupid.
All right.
My takeaway was like wrapping it up when you're talking to someone, and because I've caught myself before saying, okay, especially if it's a past client and they're asking for a value of something, but I know that they are just wondering, I'll be like, okay, I'll get that to you as soon as I can, and I leave it at that, and I don't actually put a date on it, and then it does take 3 weeks because I forget, and so you just reminded me that is I can't take those relationships for granted, and just wrapping up
Well,
a date on it.
When someone says, hey, I need this for informational purposes, and you say, I'll get it to you when I can or whatever, you're assuming when they actually need it by. Which you're like, oh, it's just informational. It's whenever. Yeah. Good. That's a good point. Okay. All right. Moving on. Gratitude. So let's go with Vicky. No, I'm kidding. Let's see. Let's go with our lenders today. Who and what are you grateful for? So Mike, Carrie, and go ahead. Yeah, Josh.
Well, I mean, honestly, just grateful for this team. Grateful for Becky and Megan. Like, I know we've talked about it a lot here, but they're amazing to work with. We work with a lot of different TCs, and it is a very different experience. Whenever I get to work on your guys' deals, I'm so excited because it's just smooth. There's a lot of times where I'll just reach out to Becky or Megan without you guys even knowing, because they just know the answer, and it's just very easy. So I just want to say, grateful for the team and just honestly, you got good people.
Sweet. Josh?
Well, Carrie said exactly what I was going to say. So Becky, here's another little shout out. We do work with a lot of TCs out there, and you guys have the best of the best. And so it makes our job so easy when we have an FHA loan and we're trying to track down mandatory clauses and stuff. We can send it over to, hey, can I get some help on this? I'm not getting a response back from this or the listing agent or whatever, buyer's agent or whatever on there. And so just being able to have that opportunity to trust you guys is amazing. So,
Sweet. Mike?
Geez, I feel like I have to talk about that.
yeah.
So I will say, not only do we work with agents that have other TCs, we work with agents that don't have TCs at all. And what I notice about them is they tend to do 1 or 2 deals, and then they do no deals. And then they do 1 deal, and then they do no deals. So you guys really have some great resources here with what you have surrounding you. Aside from that, I have to shout out my wife as well. She really pushes me to do more than just work. Otherwise, I probably just work all the time. And lately, we've been playing a lot of pickleball. So if anybody wants to play, yeah, we love it. So
Sweet.
Becky and my wife.
All right. All right, guys. That's it. Oh,